A lot of our listeners are parents and high school football players that want to play college football at the next level.
In the true nature of recruiting, if you're not catching me in the first 4 to 5 plays, then I'm on to the next kid. Don't just sit in the corner while everybody's walking. Be active. Like the best kids that I specifically remembered, they would get up off their tushy and they would start walking around the facilities and just look at t-shirts and finding schools. And so if, hey, I'm talking to Richie and he's going to be at the mega camp and that's a school that's been talking to me on X, get off your tail, go find that coach and introduce yourself. Because chances are that coach is just trying to look through this list. Go out and be just as active as the coach and go introduce yourself.
You're listening to the Football Scholarship Podcast, the playbook for parents and athletes who want to secure the best football scholarships possible. From securing a D1 football scholarship in the SEC at Ole Miss at just 5'7", 100 pounds, myself, to helping 83% of the athletes I mentor achieve football scholarship offers and 42% going Division I, I've learned countless lessons that I'll be sharing right here with you. Join me and my co-host Brian Overton, who has 15 years of D1 college football recruiting experience, as we interview top experts, successful athletes, and discuss current recruiting trends. Together, we'll help you navigate the recruiting process so you too can achieve your dream of running out of that tunnel in front of 100,000 screaming fans.
Super excited to introduce our guest today. He's the head football coach at Adams State, Levi Gallas. Dallas, but Gallas. He's made his mark as a top defensive mind with successful stops at West Texas A&M, Nebraska Kearney, and Eastern New Mexico. And now he's back where it all started, his alma mater, ready to lead the Grizzlies with passion, purpose, and a proven track record as their brand new head coach. So, Coach Gallas, man, thank you for being here, and congratulations.
Awesome. No, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously I want to spend a lot of time talking about your program, right? And a lot of our listeners are parents and high school football players that want to play college football at the next level. And so I want to talk about your program and how you're building this, and then we could talk a little bit about what you're looking for and all of that. So as you're building this program, what's really important to you? What's your mindset around building this program and the players that are going to be a part of it?
Yeah, I've come into this with two different mindsets. Number one, really focus on the small college atmosphere, being that I've had stops at different small institutions, knowing that Adams is a smaller campus lifestyle, smaller campus feel, really knew that it was important for us to regain the trust and the community itself in terms of their support. We started off with our franchise, our tag as we us are. We are going to do what's right. It's going to take all of us. This is our team. I think I found it being super important for us as an institution and as a team to get back into the community, get back into this environment because they're the ones that have the most impact and the most help for us in our near future, whether it's within fundraising, fan support, campus life, anything in terms of immediate impact. It's going to take everybody. And so we really tried to establish that initially in our spring. And then the big foundational piece that we needed to establish was back into that culture mindset. And for us, we call it the high five standards, where we're really looking for our guys to understand what it means to be respectful, build those relationships. We're going to be honest and we're going to have honest conversations. We're going to be detailed in our approach. And then at the end, when it all is said and done, you're going to have honor in who you play for and the U-Paw that you put on your chest.
That's awesome, man. How'd you come up with that? Just like different places, or that's pretty legit.
Yeah. And when I was younger, two different things. When in my younger career at Nebraska Kearney, the coach at the time, she's now the basketball coach up at University of South Dakota, and she's like jumping quick. But she had a summer where I just stopped by her office and said, "Hey, I'm looking to be a head coach sometime. Can we talk? And can we sit down and chit chat?" And sure enough, she gave me an hour and a half, and she's, you know what, you need to start with what are your values?
Mm.
And so for about the next 6 years before I ever took a head coaching job, I just sat there and tried to really put in place what are my values. And I just started with a big list and knowing from a player's perspective, if you just throw a bunch of words at a kid, it's going to be like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But if you can try to put it into a sequence that makes the most sense to kids and which they're going to actually believe in it, that's where it stuck for me. And I started to build it from there. The WSR, I stole that from North Dakota hockey. I'm a big hockey fan,
Hmm.
and they have it plastered inside of their locker room. And one day I saw it and I looked it up, and I like that saying, but they were just using it in terms of how they talk. It's not
Yeah.
me, myself, and I, it's we, us, are. And then so I structured it off of that.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I think any great team or any great company is built on a strong foundation of core values and expectations and a mission and a vision and all that. So the
Oh,
fact
yeah.
that you have that is awesome. The next component of that of a company or of a team, right, are the people. And obviously you built your coaching staff and the players. What's been your process as far as the players that you have, and now obviously you came in, it looks like just right before maybe early signing day, right after early signing day, and before signing day. So, what was that kind of process like for you of evaluating what you have and trying to make sure that guys sign? And what was that like?
Oh, and that was crazy. Every day, I don't remember like even having lunch and dinner and breakfast during that whole time period. Yeah, so I got the job on the 18th of December. And so knowingly, you're not going to really see anybody for a good week and a half. And so I was at West Texas A&M, and at the time I was responsible for the whole west of the I-35 corridor that's in the DF Dub. And I literally had to just drop those names off with another coach, knowing that I might be able to convince a couple Texas kids to come to Colorado, but I needed to reestablish our brand and our name in the state. Division II is so unique in that each school only has a certain amount of scholarships. Like the
Yeah.
top level ones are fully funded, the bottom level ones are scraping by with a bunch of partials. And so for us to be successful, we needed to kind of reattack our state and making sure that we could allocate our funds. My first three things that I wanted to do with my team was one, I wanted to look at who we had, in the sense of what does our roster actually look like. I knew I needed to get recruiting going, and I knew I needed to build a staff. So during that Christmas time, I found it easy for me to be able to start figuring out what I had by just watching film, digging up the information on how they're doing in the classroom. I had a couple GAs that I knew I wanted to keep on staff or that came highly recommended to me. So I put them onto these type of Zooms and just talk to them about these kids and trying to get a better sense of what the roster actually looked like. In the meantime, I knew I could just hit the DMs and really go back to my roots of Colorado. I'm still, and I know we'll talk about this a little bit more in depth in recruiting. I'm still a believer that if I'm going to recruit a high school kid, he's got to have the stamp from the head coach. And sometimes I look at it in both mindsets, in the kid's mind and in the coach's mind, but I still want him to be able to say, yeah, you can recruit that kid. If he automatically comes out and says, no, you don't want that kid, to me, that's a major red flag. I
Yeah.
don't necessarily shut the door, but it's definitely a starting point. So I started trying to reach out to the coaches that I knew in the state that I could trust. And then also I started reaching out to California junior colleges, another area that I was comfortable in recruiting at the time. And then I just started trying to build my staff. But yeah, every day I'd start the morning with a big list. And my hope was at the end of the evening, I had a couple things crossed off.
Because essentially you're trying to build your staff and recruit at the same time, but you need the staff to recruit, right?
100%. 100%.
Yeah. You built your staff, or you were building your staff and recruiting. Like, what are some of the things that outside of the coach make getting that stamp of approval from the coach? How are you finding the players? Are you reaching out to all the high school coaches in the area? How are you finding some of these players that could be a good fit?
Yeah. For me, it starts with regional recruiting. I try to assign my staff to certain areas in
Yep.
which I feel that are most successful for this program moving forward. And then from there, I tell them they need to reach out to those high school coaches and start the conversations by getting those lists. Now, for us as a Division two, each Division two, whether you're on the East Coast to the West Coast, each timeline's a little bit different in terms of when they start trying to get those lists. But I find spring recruiting being the best time in which you can sit down and communicate with those high school coaches on, all right, who are your top seniors going into next year? Who are the kids that are showing the most improvement going into next year? And just starting to generate that list of kids. And then from there, we just start the evaluation process. So as coaches, we start ranking those kids and then we put them into position groups. And then from there, it's a process in which you got to get the position coaches stamp, the offense coordinator, defensive coordinator stamp, and then the head coaches stamp, and then moving down the way.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. Yeah, one of the things we teach the players that we work with and mentor is when you're reaching out to a school, find out who's responsible for recruiting your area. It's such a
Oh, yeah.
critical piece because that's the guy that you want to build a relationship because that's the
Yep.
guy that's going to help you move up the ladder, get you in front of the position coach, get you in front of the coordinator, get you in front of the head coach.
100%. Yeah, that is absolutely the best way to start it. I really think it's important too for kids to, and guys, young adults, to start visualizing where is it that I want to be, like in terms of geographically, and then start, all right, make that circle, what schools are in that area. And then from that area, then to your point, start attacking those position coaches or those recruiting area coaches.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. Yeah, one thing we're really big on too is like before we even like will work with a player is we evaluate them first, right? So we actually
Yeah,
do an evaluation and we let them know transparently and honestly, you're Division two, you're an FCS, and I'm reaching out to FCS schools if they're a D2. We might let me track back.
right.
We don't want
No,
them
I,
reaching out to Ole Miss if they're a
yeah,
Division two player.
totally
Um,
get it. Yes.
we want to make sure that they have the best chance to succeed, right? Go the areas from there. So for you, walk me through your evaluation process. So I know you mapped out your process as far as we got to get the position coach, coordinator, head coach, right? That's very similar across the board. But for you, when that area coach is evaluating that player, what's that process like? How do you have your staff evaluate them?
Yeah. So each position's a little bit different, and we can get into the nitty gritty of like positions and what we look for. But I'm a firm believer in that we first need to make sure that, again, we get the reference check from the coach. And if the coach says that they can play at your particular level, that means something to me. Like, I think that is important for us to be able to have initially. And then on that note, our next evaluation is definitely the transcript. I can't say that I just only take kids above a 2.5. I'm willing to work with kids in terms of some started off high school rough or they come from different styles, different backgrounds, or things of that nature. But I do still think it's important that they show some type of success in the classroom because that's a major component in college football still today. That might change, who knows? But still today, it's important that you can pass class. And so we've got to be able to see that they have that capabilities. And coaches, high school coaches typically do a pretty good job of filtering you through that process. And then next, how are they just as a person? Like, how do they present themselves when you meet them, whether it's in camp, whether it's in school, whether they come to a junior day, whether they come to a game day visit. I think just how they carry themselves, how they talk to their parents, how they talk to their buddies, how they sit up, how they pay attention, what they're acting like in the photo shoot, just all sorts of different things that I think gauges, does this kid fit here? Like that's a big piece to me. Like I give the honesty talk in true transparency that we're cold. We're the second coldest probably college in the nation at some juncture. We'll reach negative 25. So you better be able to wear a coat and feel okay. Like I'm in true transparency. You better enjoy the snow a little bit. We're in a small town of 20,000 people. Like we're not going to have them all. And so if those things start coming out in conversations and I can just tell by body language that this isn't for you, boom, check, next kid. I'm not going to sit there and try to convince a kid why this place is similar to Hawaii when it's not. Like I want the kid to come and play here for 45 years rather than being an issue here in 2 to 3.
Or just be there a semester and bounce or whatever.
Yeah, like that is hard, and I know the big wigs are dealing with it in a totally different mindset because it's so much more money driven than it is at our level. At our
Right.
level, I still see there's being some transparency and some loyalty and some sense of just wanting to be at one institution because with transferring comes making sure your credits transfer because at the end of the day, the goal should still be to get your college degree, especially at Division II. We're talking a 1% chance of a kid going into the NFL. I'm going to bet on the 99 chance that they're
Right.
going to get a college degree. So I'd hate for a kid to come here and realize this isn't where I wanted to be. Okay, did we have that honest conversation at the beginning? But then, in my opinion, a lot of times the eval process then starts with the film. If you're not catching me in the first 4 to 5 plays, then I'm on to the next kid. In the true nature of recruiting, we have the capabilities of recruiting nationally. Just like you have the capabilities of putting your film out there into the nation, we have the capability of looking at a bunch of film. And so, with that, we've got to be smart and using our time to make sure that we're evaluating these kids at a decent rate so we can get the right kids for our program as well. And so I constantly am telling kids in the eval process, put your best plays first.
Right.
It's so important to do that. And I don't know how many times maybe the first 3 to 4 plays have caught my attention. And so then I watch play 5, play 6, play 7. Then I get to play 8, and I'm going, why wasn't that first? That's the best play.
Yeah.
But I'm sure those are conversations you have with the kids too.
100%. We do it like every time we do an evaluation, we basically help them reorder it. Right. We're like,
Right.
hey, we got to move play 8 to play 2, play 7,
Yeah.
from the eyes of a college coach, right? Like our coach that does his name's Brian Overton. He was Arkansas. He was their recruiting director at Arkansas.
Nice.
He had 15 years Division I recruiting. So he's seen a tape or two. And
Oh,
so
there. Yeah.
we evaluate every tape and we tell him, here, you got to move these plays around. You got because we had one player of a quarterback out of California that had no offers. He was cranking out tapes. We helped him reorder his tape, and in 2 weeks got his first D1 offer just from the place being in the wrong
Yeah.
order. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a lot of people, they think their best plays are one thing, but then a college coach is looking for another.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
That especially on defense this one always blows my mind. It's like when the linebacker comes scot free and nobody touches him and he makes a tackle at the line of scrimmage. Yeah, you're supposed to make that play. Show me when you had to get off the guard and dip and spill and then tackle the running back. That's the one that wow. Okay, that's a play.
fair. No, that's good. No, it's true. It's true.
It is
The thing is, there's no real education on that. You know what I mean?
true. No,
So
you're
getting
right.
so it's interesting. 4 to 5 plays, and it's hey, I got 1,000+ tapes to watch. I got to keep going. It makes sense. So we got the film, grades, and then who you are. So I'm curious for you, like when you're evaluating someone, you said how they carry themselves, how they communicate. Like, what are some things that you're looking for from a player when he is communicating with you? What are you looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. And in this day and age, I feel like there's a couple different ways of communication. Probably the one that happens the most in recruiting is that of what's going on in the cell phone. And
Yeah.
in terms of this, the communication, whether it's via on Twitter, whether it's via on text messages, whatever it might be, whether it's on phone calls. I think each one is a little bit unique in how it's presented. I think the starting point a lot of times in recruiting does happen for us on Twitter or X. And that starts the conversation piece for us to be able to get a hold of you. I think it's important that kids need to understand with the social media platform for us as coaches, it has created an avenue for us to be able to get a hold of you quicker. You
Right.
used to have to get all the information from the coaches, even though I'd love to try to say every high school coach is doing a great job. There are some that they're also coaching wrestling and doing track, and they're not getting paid very much. So they got another, like sometimes that form of communication to get the cell phone and stuff is tough. So we operate under the piece of X in which we're getting a hold of these kids through DMs and messaging. And so just being available is a big piece in this day and age of recruiting. Of if a coach is messaging you on DM, you caught his eye somehow, some way. You're on a list somewhere, and so just be conscious of that. In that, if they are reaching out to you in that style of a platform, even though it's not, hey, I'm Coach Gallas, this is my cell, give me a call kind of nature, if he just simply sent you a message, there's a good chance that you're on a list somewhere and
Yeah.
you are being evaluated by that staff. But then that communication between each other needs to be somewhat professional. I think it's good that you go back and forth and maybe show a GIF or play with the emojis and stuff like that. But at the same time, understand that he's still recruiting you all points in time. And so your communication, if it's on X, you're also communicating based off of what you're putting on X, what you're liking, what you're retweeting, what you're putting out there.
Mm.
Just as much as I'm watching you talk to your mom on a visit, I'm also looking at what you're tweeting out and what you're putting on Instagram and things of that nature. Like it's, I gotta know that eventually, if you're gonna come to my school, you're gonna change your profile name at Adams State. And so everything that's below that is also going to be seen by everybody that's supporting this institution. So
Yeah.
that's a big piece. Like we can't be doing anything knuckleheadish on social media at the same time.
No, that's a good point. I think what you said there is something that a lot of people, a lot of players miss, which is it's not just what you say or what you post, it's also what you like, what you retweet, what you're.
Oh yeah.
And Brian would always say this, like when he was at Arkansas, it would start on X and they'd always go to Instagram or they'd go to
Yep.
TikTok because they
Yep.
don't players don't think coaches are there and they would
No.
immediately go see what they're really about. You know what I
Oh yeah.
mean?
100%.
So
100%.
yeah. So this is the message here is like all your social media needs to be congruent, right? It needs
Yeah.
to be congruent of who you are. And if you're trying to play college football, obviously, hopefully you're a good person, right?
And you don't have to treat that thing like your resume either. I'm cool if you like 2K or if you're hoping to get the new Madden or you're a Lakers fan and stuff of that nature. That stuff's fine. It's just the other side of X that you've got to be very conscious about. But then there's the communication from, to me, the text messaging and the phone calls that I think are really changing over the last 14 years of college coaching. We weren't using X at all, and it was such a different platform of just trying to get the cell phone. But I feel like kids are using their cell phone, their text messaging, and their phone call like they do X and Instagram. Is I'm going to use it at my discretion in some sense. Like if a college coach texts you or if he calls you, that's a pretty big deal. And you
Yeah.
need to probably treat it way different than you do somebody reaching out to you on X. If he's using his personal line or the line he uses for the university to reach out to you, that means he's pretty interested. And even if you're not as interested in that institution at that moment, just listening to what they have to say sometimes can help you better justify your decisions later down the road.
Yeah, it's a good point too of like also from a player's perspective. First, like you said, first off, if a coach is in DMing with you back and forth, there's some level of interest. If
Right.
they gave you their cell phone number, now you're texting and scheduling a call or going to get on the phone, now you're at the next level of interest and you got to treat it as such. So
Right.
On
Right.
those phone calls, obviously there's things we teach our players to really stand out and really confidently talk with coaches about what they can do and the value they can bring to the team. You're on the other side trying to get good players to come to your school. For the players that you're interested in when you're on the phone with them, walk me through some of what that conversation's and what you're looking for.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think a lot of times the conversation was like, I try to go through four areas. I try to talk about, what it is as a football sense, what is the program like, what is the university like, what's the town like, and then for me, what type of financial element might there be? Whether are we offering you a scholarship or how affordable is our institution? Something of that nature, because I think those are four crucial areas that a recruit needs to hear about when you're talking to them on the phone. On the other side, I just want transparency. I want people talking back. I want them engaging in the conversations. When I get the yup, cool, and or just pure silence, it's a dead giveaway for me that man, this kid ain't interested. This is probably not the institution for him. Or it also tells me that maybe this individual isn't somebody that necessarily talks on the phone very well, because there are people that they just don't enjoy being on a phone conversation. And I'm not going to completely cross a kid out for that. But if he's showing me somewhat interest in having a conversation with me, that's pretty important in how we look at it.
And that's why one of the things we really focus on with these kids is, hey, you got to talk about the value you can be. You got to talk about how you can help this team. You got to talk about the coach and what they're looking for and communicate confidently with them about that. And that's going to help that coach be like, at the end of the call, instead of, I don't know if he's interested or I don't know, to
Yeah.
being like, I like that kid. That kid.
Right.
Let's get a visit scheduled versus like,
Yeah.
yeah, coach. Sounds good, coach. And they could, like you said, they could be excited, but because they don't know how to communicate it, now you're like, I got two other kids I got to call, so I might offer this kid a visit. It's the difference between you offering that kid a visit and coming and maybe not because you got to,
Yeah, it's such a true statement. The thing that popped in my head too is like these position coaches, me as a position coach, I wanted to sign 30 kids. Like I wanted to have the most kids that were under my name. Like you as a college coach, you're competitive and they're all competitive. And so when you get the sense that there's somewhat of a gettability, so I'm talking to a kid and he's transparent back to me about, oh yeah, I looked up Adam State, or oh yeah, I know the offensive coordinator's name, or you're in Alamosa, you play in the RMAC, or something like that. Okay, this kid's kind of interested in who we are. That's like that kid will go up in the ranking for you as a recruiter,
mm,
because you're like, you know what, I could get that kid. I think I could get that kid. And so all of a sudden, like if you're neck and neck, like you're 6'2", 240, 6'2", 240, and this kid really wants to be a Grizzly, and this kid is too busy playing video games, I'm going to recruit and offer this kid way more than I'm ever interested in that kid. And it could just be off of a phone call. Simple as
yeah.
that.
Yeah. Okay. So this is interesting. That's really good. Super good, man. And it's interesting because it's good to understand the perspective of the coaches where it's like they're competing with each other to see how many guys that they can get to
Oh,
commit
yeah.
and actually sign. You
Oh
know what I
yeah,
mean?
if they're not true competitors, right? So yeah, they're trying to sell their school. They're trying to get as many kids to be signed under their name, even if the head coach cares or not. They just have that nature to them. And when they get the sense that this kid has gettability, we always talk about it as gettability. Okay, in my sense, this kid's offered by Northern Colorado, Northern Arizona, and CSU's talking about a walk on. The gettability is probably pretty low for me as a Division II school. Okay. But I've got another kid that he's getting offered by a couple of similar schools in my conference. And all right, the gettability is a little bit higher for this kid. So initially, I'm going to spend probably more energy on the gettability kid.
Mm,
And that's just the nature of us as college coaches. The same goes for, all right, this kid's interested. He's got decent grades. The coach talks highly of him. I'm going to recruit this kid versus the kid that isn't responding back to me, has a 2-2 and the coach says, yeah, he could be having some high potential. Those type of things are, I don't know, in my sense as a recruiter, important
Yeah.
because I'm going to go after the gettability.
Interesting. Do you guys use like ARMS or any software like that? Okay. Do you
Yeah.
guys have a metric for that, for gettability? Like you guys have a gettability percentage or something like that?
No, we did one when I was at Corny. And we had just gotten done with front rush at Eastern New Mexico, and we were at University of Nebraska Corny, and we started like creating this full metrics of talking about academics, talking about financial aid, FAFSA, talking about region, how far are they away from the mom is the kind of the factor. How far are they away from home to just different like categories like that. And we started to make it metrics, and we did about a year of it, and we didn't have enough people. To
Yeah.
be honest with you, there wasn't enough people to stay up on it. We were just moving too fast through kids, or that kid all of a sudden, boom, he's gone, and so we're like, we wasted all that time on that matrix. But no, the thing I do use arms as a matrix, as it is after we start conversations with DMs on X, we will shoot them a questionnaire on arms. And it has to do with them uploading, they have to answer some intricate pieces. One is their NCAA eligibility number, and two is their transcript. Now, they can bypass those two things if they ask the coach, hey, what do I do? But if they complete that, that tells me, okay, they're interested in
They're
us. And
serious.
so we use that questionnaire to say, all right, this kid actually is interested in us. He's not just blowing smoke.
Yeah. So for everyone listening right now, do the questionnaire if a coach sends it to you and they're with you, especially if it's
Yeah.
from ARMS, right? They all use it. Do the
Yeah.
questionnaire. It's not,
Because it simply puts you into a recruiting platform. Like
yeah,
it's super easy. And now all of a sudden I can create the offer. I can put him into my roster. I can do all sorts of things just based off the arms. I used to use just like Google, creating a Google
Google Sheet,
form.
Google
Yeah,
Form. Yeah.
Google Sheet. Yeah, to see if the kid is really interested in me or not. But it's been amazing how much that's helped filter everything out.
Yeah, it's basically you create some friction, right? So it's like, hey, we got
Yeah.
all these guys.
Yep.
Let's communicate with them, show them we're interested, send them this form, and that will narrow us down to at least XYZ that's interested. So for everyone listening,
Yeah.
if you're interested in
Yeah.
school, fill out the form. If the coach is in DM in conversation, there's
Hey,
we do teach or go ahead.
no, and I was just gonna say that's different than the one that might be associated on our website. Like
Website, yeah,
that one's good, and I do think a lot of coaches still use that today. But if we're truly looking to offer money, this is the other route that we use the
that's
form for. Yeah.
yeah. So really important. Can't emphasize that enough, guys. Is that obviously if they send you that link from the ARM software, do it, right? Do it.
Just
If
do
you're
it.
interested, of course. So for you, what's your after the phone call? Do you get them to come on an official visit, or are you getting them to camp, or are you going to their school? What's your process from you watched their film, you saw their transcripts, you got the coaches checks it off, you have a phone call with them, you like the kid. Where do you go from there?
Yeah, I think it's good to try to get the head coach in front of the kid. I found it important as a position coach, as a coordinator, those type of pieces really help the head coach to be able to make that decision, and it also helps the kid better understand who they might be playing for. Because ultimately, the coordinators don't have, as some programs do, the coordinators have all the say, but most programs, it's the head coach that gives a final stamp to say, offer that kid. A lot of times, the head coach wants to see that kid. And we're doing different things in different ways to try to generate that feeling, whether it's the head coach talking to him on the phone or the head coach looking to try to get a picture with the kid and the position coach together to just get a better sense of the head coach doesn't want to get catfished. At the end of the day, he doesn't want to offer a kid on huddle that says he's 6'4", 280, and he shows up at 6'1", 250. It's important that we see these kids, these individuals, these people, because that's really important for us in building our roster and making sure maybe he did not say he was 6'4", but he shows up and his shoulders are super wide and you're like, yeah, this kid's going to be just fine. He's going to gain
Yeah.
some weight. But just being able to interact with that person in person. And so, yeah, there's a lot of different platforms. I think first is trying to get to junior day. If a kid doesn't come to junior day, it's not a killer for me. I would love to hear him say, Coach, sorry, I can't. I'm playing baseball. I'm running track. I'm doing lacrosse. I'm playing rugby. Whatever. He's being active. That's great. You didn't come. That's fine. Camp is another one. It is obviously a great way to get in front of the head coach. He's probably going to be there, or he might be at a mega camp and you can go see him at one of those type of venues and be able to see multiple coaches. I think those are another great opportunity to get around them. Game day visits are great to be able to see the coach as well. And then if they're offering you an official visit, you probably better go, especially at Division II. We only have a certain amount of money. We're not giving an official visit to everybody. We're
Yeah.
only giving it to kids that we're truly interested in. And so if he's offering you that official visit, he might look you up and down real quick in an evaluation, but he's going to offer you. He's going to offer you something. And so I do think that coaches will push the junior day. They'll push the camps. Those are good avenues for you to be able to that's where they're going to offer. Like we'll offer at camps and we'll offer at our camps versus maybe a mega camp only because we know the head coach is going to be there. A
Right.
mega camp, you might get the OC, you might get the wide receiver coach, you might be able to get a picture to send back to coach, and it's great to start building those relationships. But for us, like our indie camps are where you're probably going to get an offer.
Yeah. So that's super powerful. This is super, everyone listening. It's true. If you are in communication with the coach, you talk to the coach, you have a call with the coach, they invite you to camp, like the odds of you getting an offer, if you go there, if you are who you say you are and you rock out and you perform, you'll have a real opportunity to get an offer
Mm-hmm.
versus the mega camp where the head coach may not be there. Not everyone doesn't have the same process as Coach Gallas here. Everyone's a little
No,
different, right? But
correct.
this is a very popular model, right? And
Right.
so the camp, one of the things, and I actually just posted a video today on Instagram, and I just looked at like 20,000 views or something like that. It was about
Nice.
camps. Yeah, it's going wild because, we teach our players, they get a lot of camp invites, right? If you get a camp invite, here's a great way to respond back to see if the coach is seriously interested or if it's a blast, right? And all over the country, like chicken with their head cut off, right? So
Correct.
if that coach responds back, there's communication, they've watched their film and there's interest, and they really want to go to that school, you got to go to that camp, right? And
Oh,
so
yeah.
if there's no communication, zero interest, zero anything, and it just happened to be in a blast, then you need to reconsider.
Correct.
Unless you run like a 4.340 and you're gonna be such a difference maker at the camp, then that it makes sense. Otherwise, you want the coaches to know who you are. Like for you, like how your camps operate as well.
100%. Yeah, that's exactly how we perceive it and I think coaches have two different models in how they set up their indie camps. It's a fundraiser or it's a recruiting tool. I think, in all honesty, and a lot of times you can gauge that based off of how does that camp end? Did anybody get an offer? Because if nobody get an offer, that coach is using that thing completely as a fundraiser. Now, again, be wary too. Like if the only three kids showed up to the camp and nobody got an offer, maybe there wasn't anybody there. But at the same time, that's how you foresee it and how you see it at especially our lower levels of how those camps are working. For us, it's so much more of a recruiting tool. It's another opportunity for us to be able to actually work with a kid
Yeah.
without getting slapped with an NCAA violation. Like
Right.
we're out trying to see kids, especially if they're doing satellite camps. Like if they're leaving their campus to go places, they're trying to be more convenient for maybe individuals within that area to gain that ability to work with those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes total sense. I really your input on the mega camps too, because we get that question all the time on the mega camps, and I think it's really good to have perspective. As yeah, I mean, you could go there, coaches are there, but to get the right people there from the staffs that need to be able to make a move is going to be obviously more rare than.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I know my time at WT, we went to two of the biggest ones, SMU's and TCU's, and massive camps. We're talking 3,000 kids. And the one thing I will say at those mega camps, because I do think it's still good. I think
Yeah.
it's good to
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
out and those coaches will go to those camps just to get the list. And then from the list, they'll start doing all their evals. Okay, because it's an easy way for us to just get a big list of names. And so then you'll divvy it up based off of your schools and where you're recruiting and your general areas. And then you'll start dividing it up if you're doing it right. But don't just sit in the corner while everybody's walking. Like sometimes those mega camps start and there's thousands of people just standing. And you got 47 quarterbacks warming up their arms for one-on-ones, and then everybody's working on their starts because they're probably starting with a 40. But be active. Like the best kids that I specifically remembered, they would get up off their tushy and they would start walking around the facilities and just look at t-shirts and finding schools. And so if, hey, I'm talking to Richie and he's going to be at the mega camp and that's a school that's been talking to me on X, get off your tail, go find that coach and introduce yourself. Because chances are that coach is just trying to look through this list. All right, who's here? Is Steve here? And there's 3,000 kids. And okay, Steve's wearing 196. All right, I got to go find 196 real quick. No, go out and be just as active as the coaches and go introduce yourself, shake your hand. Maybe it's a school that hasn't contacted you yet, but it's
Yeah.
2 hours away and it's a place that you want to be. Go introduce yourself. Go talk to them because you're both there. You're both allowed to do it. The NCAA won't get in trouble. Be active at those things, man. And if coaches are watching your drill and there's 7 dudes in front of you before you get to go, turn and talk to them. Hey, coach,
That's
how's
it.
it going, man? Thanks for coming. Hey, I'm Levi. I'm from Colorado. Blah, 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 blah. Be active at recruit just as much as they're recruiting at those mega camps.
100%. It's such good advice, everyone listening. If you go to talk to the coaches, that's the whole
Talk to them.
purpose. If you want to be
Yeah.
memorable, talk to the coaches. Go
Yeah.
perform, talk to the coaches. Go ball out, talk to the coaches, right?
Yeah.
You want to, like he said, this is an opportunity to be able to talk and show what you could do
Yep.
at the same time. And a lot of players are just, they're shy and so one of the
Yep.
things we spend a lot of time with the kids, and we obviously, here's some questions you can ask, here's some questions they may ask you. What we do is we get on the phone with them, we just role play, we just practice,
Yep.
practice,
Great.
practice. So by the
Yep.
time they get to a camp, I'm going to talk to the coach.
Percent.
One of the things, you might get a kick out of this, but one of the things I teach them is this is the same thing as like picking up a girl, right? You can't walk
Totally.
into a bar and see a girl that you like and just wait and wait, and then she sees you and then she sees you waiting, and then you ruined it, dude. When
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
walk in and you see her, you got to go talk to her. It's the same thing. You see a coach, go talk to the coach. Shake that coach's hand. Ask him, "Hey coach, I see you're at Adams State. That's awesome. Are you the head? What position do you coach? And what do you look for in a wide receiver at your school? Or what are you
Right.
currently looking for right now?" And you're just having a conversation, and that coach can be like, "Whoa." And then you go out into the field and you ball out. Now it's like,
Yep.
okay, now
Yep.
let's talk. And
No,
all you're
that's
drumming up. Go
Yep.
ahead.
No, that's great input. That's exactly, you got to draw his attention, and it might not be because you might not drop a 4.3. I get it. You might not drop a 4.3. The kid that
More
drops a
than likely,
4.3,
you're not dropping a 4.3.
yeah, every coach is going to go talk to the kid that dropped the 4.3.
Right.
Be different. Find a way to stick out just a little bit and grabbing their attention, because those mega camps, it's just as crazy for the coach as it is for the kid. There's
Yeah.
so many people, and so you got to stick out some way. And
Right.
just going to talk to them, an easy way to do it.
Right. They got to figure out, is this kid in my level? Is this kid going to be interested? What's the gettability? But there's 3,000. So they're trying to figure that out. And if you can help them do it, you know what I mean?
100%. 100%.
Especially if you're targeting the schools that are at the right level. That's why we always start with there are schools at the right level where you play. And then, you're going to have a way better conversations, way better opportunity. You're not going to waste your time or their time.
Correct.
which is you don't want to waste anybody's time.
No, you don't.
Listen, Coach Gallas, man, I really appreciate you jumping on. I think you've provided some really cool insights for players and parents out there that are going through the recruiting game. And obviously they get to know you a little bit too, for
Yeah.
players that are interested in playing for a program that really lives to their core values and a coach that really cares. I want to end with this. For you, when guys are thinking about, there's going to be a lot of, players that watch this and are like, man, let me check out Adams State. Let me look at Coach Gallas. If you were to share your program or talk about the core values of your program, we talked about that a little earlier on, what would you say to parents and players that they're at that Division II level and they're considering different schools and they get to know you a little bit now and they're interested in your program? What would you share with them?
I think the number one thing kids do right away in being recruited by institutions, they look up their last season. All right. It's probably the number one thing they're going to go check out. How'd they do last year? Okay. When you look at us, I'm going to be honest. We were 0-11. And so that's a
But
big
you weren't
sticking
the head
point.
coach.
Yeah, but it's our program now. It's
Yeah.
we us are. And so I take full ownership in that sense, only because I think kids need to know that I'm going to be fully transparent the entire time that you're here. And that when you come play at Adams, we are going to stick to those core values. We are going to be coaches that are involved with you in your day-to-day process, in the community, in the classroom, on the football field. We're going to continue to build that respect within each other and understanding our roles. Our honesty is going to carry over into our conversations as you as a player and being understanding of how can we help you better yourself. At the same time, if you're being a knucklehead, I'm going to call you out on it. But I want that same transparency back. Like if you feel like you're being mistreated or coach, I want more playing time and things of that nature, come to the office. Let's talk
Yeah.
about how we see this thing, because I think being this day and age, a lot of people, they're fake and they just need to be more honest about what's going on out there. We're going to be disciplined. You look at all the best programs in the nation. They all start with looking the same when they come out of the tunnel. There's a reason for that, because they are disciplined and detailed with everything that they do. And if you do that, then the famous words, the winds will take care of itself. I think there's truth to that. I don't think it's something that we just need to talk about. We need to go out and do. But I know it's unique because I played here and not all the head coaches out there played for the schools that they're working for. But when you come to Adams State, you're going to have that same sense of honor, that same sense of pride when you leave here. I feel it every single day because I'm living my dream right now. But when we go out and play schools that have maybe nicer jerseys or bigger stadiums or more fans or whatever it might be, and we walk off with the W, you're going to feel a lot better about it.
That's awesome, man. Absolutely. Be a part of building something. Yeah. Cool.
100%.
Coach Gallas, really appreciate you being on the show, man. And maybe hopefully one day in the future, we'll do it again.
Yeah, would love it. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Oh.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Football Scholarship Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to subscribe and leave us a review. And for more free resources, or if you're interested in working with us, visit gonextplay.com. Until next time.